Oh, is that rolling? Hey guys, it's Chris Krogan. I know I said I wasn't going to do a video today, but I decided, screw that. That wasn't a commitment. I'm doing one anyways. So this tactical perspective video is about section attacks. It's about G.I. Joe Classified, and it's about just something I thought would be fun to go over for anybody who doesn't have a military background, or even for those who did, who might think it's fun to just see this played out with a guy's G.I. Joe collection. I'm gonna go over what an actual Canadian section attack looks like what an infantry section would look like, and what a section attack would look like. Because in the cartoons and in the movie, it looks like chaos. Everybody's going their own way. Everybody's an individual and whatnot. And in an actual firefight with a group of guys, a lot of individualism makes it a shorter fight. You lose. So section attacks rely heavily on coordinated fire, application of arcs, conservation of ammunition, controlled movement, and most importantly, fire teams and communication. All right, so I'm just going to show you what an infantry section would look like in my section attack. Why am I doing this, guys? You guys know my military background by now if you've been following the channel. I don't know if I talked very much about my years where I was learning, but I've learned this stuff through being an assault troop qualified young bag of crap trooper, and I won't ever deny I was a bag of crap trooper. Good corporal, great master corporal, all that other stuff, but trooper, I was junk. Slow to learn, but I did get that assault trooper qualification. That did give me some qualifications into some pretty cool stuff for supporting the armored troops as basically a self-sustained armored soldier in an infantry section, doing infantry stuff. And also a little bit of demolitions and pioneering stuff and assault stuff. So it was a really cool time, but we really practiced a lot of section attacks and things like that. And then towards the end of my career, or mid part of my career, I was teaching a lot of section attacks to a lot of trades that weren't infantry, right? So I just teach the core basics, and infantry will do it their way. And I'm just going to sit here and just regurgitate some stuff that I remember now that I'm retired, before I forget it all, because I'm getting older. So when it comes to this is falling under tactical perspective. Like I said, spec fire, spec fire is its own thing, and I know not everybody's following spec fire that is following tactical perspective. I got that. Just understand, when I'm feeling something out, it's going to start as a tactical perspective. If I think it's going to catch for more than a few episodes or conversations that I have, then I'll make it its own thing. So Specfire is now its own thing. If you haven't checked that out, feel free to do so. But this one is going to fall under tactical perspective. Let's have a look at what I'm talking about with an infantry section. All right, so you Americans have them. That's how your infantry operates. Every country, every infantry has them. This is a section attack right here. And then here's some Canadians doing one back in the 80s in some of their old vehicles. That's actually a Grizzly, if you're wondering in the back, not a Cougar. If it was up and you were like, that's a Cougar. No, that's a Grizzly because it's got the anti-air turret on there, okay? But you can see this is probably an assault troop right here, rushing, and they've got the scrim on their helmets. They're coming in through smoke. Maybe it's an offensive, right? But they're probably going to shake out into a section attack formation here in a bit. So why do we do section attacks? Okay, or the one I'm going to show you, every infantry has a variety of different strategies, flanking assaults, all this other stuff. But a section attack is just basically a basic attack where you are moving through an area of ground of concern that you identified in orders with your section, and you realize that you have to be careful because there's that possibility this open ground or this terrain that doesn't work in your favor could result in a possible enemy contact. So at this point, you're going to get ready for your section attack drills. So what's going to happen on a section attack? Well, first of all, who's the section? Is it a 10-man group? No, for me, it's an 8-man group. That's how I used to teach it. It's just, it can be a 10-man group. It could be whatever. But 8-man is very easy because you can break them into teams of 2, the fire teams. You could take 2 of those fire teams and call that a group, right? Group 1, group 2. And in that use section, and if you put support weapons in 2 of the teams, you have a nice flanking, you put them on the flanks, and you have some nice fire support coming from 2 different perspectives on one enemy. that everybody else is engaging head on, right? So, yeah, and we have a different ways of forming up the march out. You have the extended line, you have diamond, you have arrowhead, which is very common, and then that's the one I, most will start with. But the bottom line is with section attack, that ground's going to dictate, all right? You might have to move your forces in different movements before the normal drills would normally have you move them, just due to things like swampy ground, poor lines of sight, defilade, all that other stuff, right? So what I'm going to show you is the very basics, but I'm going to tell you about my section that I picked, and I'll tell you why I picked them. So let's go over here. Okay, so overall, my commander for this one is Duke. And Duke being the senior commander for the Joes that I felt was qualified to go on this patrol based on his kit only, really, and his command point. He's who I went with. He's going to be the commander, and I think the 2IC is going to be an interesting pick, and you're going to want to hear me out on why. His second in command, if he goes down, is Breaker with the radio, and Breaker is in a separate fire team. He's in a separate group, and the reason why is because Breaker is a very competent radio man. He doesn't need to be attached to Duke's hip, and he's more than capable of working well independently with that radio, in fact probably better than all of them, and providing the right SA to hire under contact or any kind of reports and returns he has to do over that radio. He's going to do better than Duke anyway. So he's getting the radio, and he is 2IC of the section because he is going to be current. And as 2IC of the section, he's going to be in another group entirely, but his secondary job is to take over and control the rate of fire if Duke had the radio. But if Duke is otherwise screaming over there, he's just watching his... If Duke's doing fine with the rate of fire and the movement and he doesn't need them, he's not going to interfere. He's going to focus on those comms and on helping his fire team partner and moving the group. Okay, so those are your two commanders for this one. Yeah, you'd think I put Grunt in charge or Outback or Stalker, but no, you get Breaker. Deal with it. All right, so who are my fire teams for this one? So my fire teams for this one, on the group or Team Bravo, you've got Tunnel Rat and Dusty. Okay, support weapons. The only reason I chose Dusty is I couldn't remember the caliber of his bullpup there, but he's got that tripod and he's got a backpack that can carry extra ammo. He is infantry, so he's understanding that weapon well enough that if Tunnel Rat were to get shot, he would pick it up and use it to the same level of effect independently on his own, and he would know where everything is on his fire team partner as far as any requirements like a first aid kit or a extra ammo. These guys are fire team partners. Rifleman number 1 being Tunnel Rat, Rifleman number 2 being his support Dusty. Okay, Team Alpha. Yeah, we go Bravo then. Alpha here is Duke, Rifleman number 1, and his fire team partner, Stalker, Rifleman number 2. Why did I pick Stalker as his fire team partner? Because Stalker has the exact same pulverizer that Duke has here, and therefore these two could support each other for extra mags of ammo, and otherwise they're just basic infantry from that point. And yeah, if Duke went down, Stalker would know what to do, but I mean, that's true of any infantry out there. They better know what to do, and that's why we do drills and lots of field exercises. So there's your Team Alpha. Now remember that Duke is overall command of the entire section, right? But he's got to trust his 2IC to do his job at times, and he's got to be loud with what he wants. That is some core things. He's got to be thinking about that ground, and he's got to know from everybody when a problem arises that he's not seeing, okay? So he's got a lot to do. First thing he's going to do on a section attack is he's going to go quietly off by himself, or maybe he'll take a security element and some binos, and he's going to have a look at the lay of the land that he's about to march his section across. Okay, but we'll get to that in a bit. We're going to talk about Team Charlie. Clearly, Rifleman number 1 being our Section 2IC Breaker, and he's got his standard M16 issue, and he's got a grenade launcher on there, but you don't see many grenades sitting around on him, but maybe they're in the side pouches of his radio pack that I cheated and gave him just to double down on the whole. He's got comms thing. All right, his Rifleman number 2 for Team Charlie is going to be Grunt, because Grunt makes sense in every rifle team, and he's got the ammo, he's got the rifle, and he's got the ability to grab that radio if he needs to. If his partner goes down, he's traveling a little lighter, and he could just ditch his pack and take the radio if he needed to. All right, Team Delta, we've got another support weapon in that M60 over there. Now, guys, Canada, we use a smaller caliber. We use our C9s, which is the equivalent of your saws. So we change our ammunition, even for our support weapons. Even with mags from other guys, it's all the same ammo, right? But just for representation, we're using the M60s today. But I just wanted to point that out. Anyways, his fire team partner is more than capable of working that M60 if he has to, and he's a very good searcher. So when they get into a consolidation phase, if they're successful against an enemy, he's going to be one of the first guys that Duke's going to pick to go do a battle damage assessment and search stuff, right? Usually it would be the same guys that took the trench, but or the position, but, you know, adapt and flex. And you'd be wrong if you weren't using the keen eyes of Stewie. All right, so I've talked to you a bit about the section. So in the event of going into a section attack, meaning that these guys, they're out and about into the hostile territory and they come to that piece of ground that Duke identified in orders as, yep, that would be where I would hit us. And what's going to happen, like I said earlier, Duke's going to go off with a set of binos attached at his hip, and he's going to take a security element with him. Maybe he takes, we'll take Outback with us. That's a security element. And during that time, they're going to go beetle off into some ground and go have a look at the ground they're looking at, right? Swap notes and all that other stuff. They're not going to be long. They're only going to be a couple of minutes. You don't want to take too long. You want to keep momentum here. In that time, 2IC is going to go and he's going to do inspections on each guy. And each guy is going to go over, make sure they know who they are. Like, you'll go to Tunnel Rat and you'll be like, who are you? And Tunnel Rat will be like, Rifleman number 1, Team Bravo, C9, or pardon me, M60. And then he'll say things like, what is your role in the consolidation phase? And he'll be like, right flank, 90 degrees from center of axis, looking at depth 500 meters, in the prone position, behind any available cover. Yeah, he'll go over and describe what he was told and that would happen in the final phase of any attack and get adapted from there, right? Then what would happen is he would say, all right, stand up, and he would stand up and he'd say, jump up and down, and he'd jump up and down. And this isn't, if it were a quiet, covert recce patrol, this would be to say, all right, you got a lot of things jingling and jangling on you right now, but you could expect that in there. But this isn't that kind of a patrol. This is a fighting patrol. This is a section getting ready to possibly go kick some ass. So he's going to tell him to jump up and down for one purpose only, just to make sure that no shit falls off this guy as he's bounding for cover somewhere during the section attack, that he's not going to lose a box of ammo or that demo charge. He's not going to drop his flashlights or some other pertinent kit. That's pretty much the role of that, and he'll make sure, like, that's a great time to lose your sight, isn't it? Right? And so he's going to do that for each guy. He's going to ask them who they are, make sure they understand their role, because in the heat of combat, you're listening, what you hear triggers you, right? So, and this is why we do drills. A drill is an automated response to a familiar command given under distress, right? So in a firefight, you have to know your drills. So these guys have to know who they are. They know that they are Team Bravo, Group 1, Section 1 of first section, right? And then he's going to do this to every individual and make sure that they all understand, okay? And that they're ready for battle. So when Duke comes back, all Duke has to do is just do a quick shake out of his confirmatory idea there that he already had planned coming into this ground. And he's going to brief the guys on the ground. He's going to move them up to a little position of observation, and he's going to orientate those guys to the ground they're about to walk down, right? He's going to point out what the center of axis is and the right and left boundaries, what they won't walk outside of. Meaning walk outside of, that's the boundary. He's going to point out the left and right arcs, which could be different than the boundaries. Maybe you can't fire somewhere past a certain point that is different than what your boundary is, right? He's going to do all that. He's going to talk about what formation they will advance in. Okay, that's a commander's discretion. Maybe he wants to start off in line abreast, maybe like extended line. I don't know why. Maybe he wants to march down because the ground's really difficult in a certain area. He's going to go down in single file, spread out. Or maybe he's going to march down an arrowhead because it's big open ground. And for this case, I'll just say that he did arrowhead. So he would orientate them all to the ground, let them all know that, and then he would say, first section, we'll march, we'll advance on center of access and arrowhead formation, Alpha in the lead, right? And so Stalker would take the lead. He would be the point guy. And then about 25 meters spacing between guys, they would spread out like that until you get that inverted V formation on the march, right? And they're actively looking for the enemy at that point. And, you know, Duke's updating the terrain. And the big thing is those guys on the flanks have to be pushing communication inward, right? If the C9 gunner starts seeing that his ground's going to take a dip and he's not going to be able to see, sorry, I keep saying C9, but if an M60 gunner is going to get held up in any way, that's definitely going to be a concern should contact happen, right? So as you get going, when he's up and looking down the terrain, he's going to point out new features that he's spotting on the fly, and he's going to address them like first section, reference center of access, and they'll repeat reference center of access. And he'll, like, they don't always repeat it, but they acknowledge that they're hearing them. And then he'll say things like reference Lone Pine, 2 fingers west of center of access, seen, and somebody will be like, seen. And he'll be like, suspected enemy position, and just keep them updated as they move across that ground. Now, let's say that at about, we'll say 400 meters out, they start hearing enemy fire. Is it effective enemy fire? Meaning, did they hear the whiz or the crack or it hitting the ground near them? Or can they just hear popping somewhere? All right. The last thing you want to do is spring your guys into action and realize it was just a firefight that somebody else was dealing with somewhere off to your east, and all your guys are bounding towards nothing and at high tension, right? So you react to effective enemy fire, meaning something's whizzing at you. And then it's a matter of spotting, identifying, and getting these guys orientated to it. As soon as effective enemy fire is received, these guys are breaking out of arrowhead formation. They're yelling contact. Whoever noticed it, yell it, contact, right? The immediate drill is to bound a couple of bounds and then crawl up or use fire and movement, or sorry, support movement with your partners to crawl up and get into a quick extended line as fast as possible. The commander's got to quickly get it sorted out, but anybody who sees it's going to call it out, and they're going to give you a grit, right? So it's going to be like a, you know, like a group, a range, an indication, a target type. They're going to say reference that Lone Pine, a range 500 or 400 meters, 2 fingers left of that Lone Pine in the grass. There's a lone guy taking pot shots at us, right? And the commander's going to assess all that, okay? And he's going to say, he's going to confirm what he sees, and he's going to tell the guys exactly what he wants. He's going to tell them, all right, first section, we're going to attack on that position, new center of access, enemy position on the left of that pine. And they're going to be like, center of access, left of pine, enemy position. And he's like, one section will attack. And he's like, group. Okay. And so what happens at group is that instinctively right away, Alpha's going to take the first bound. Alpha entirely. So that's Duke and his partner. And then Dusty and Tunnel Rat. This is group 1. They're going to take a whole bound while these guys are laying suppressive fire, right? They're going to do that, and then they're going to get down. And the pattern you're looking for is up, he sees me, down. By the time you get up and start running, you're saying up, he sees me, and then down, you're getting down. And then you're going to crawl on your elbows and knees towards the closest piece of cover. Now, you're going to adapt that maybe 1 stride, 2 strides, whatever the ground is dictating where your next piece of cover is. But that's what these guys are doing as a group. While these guys are laying the high rate of fire. And then they're going to bound and close the distance to about the 300 mark. And then the commander should be switching that movement to, I said group, and that's my bad. Section is where you move into group movement. This is where when you get to the 300, and pardon me for that, guys, I'm rusty. When you get to the 300-ish, this is where he's going to move it into group. And that is the 2 teams moving concurrently. So Bravo will take the bound, Alpha will cover, Charlie is concurrently taking the bound while Delta's covering, all right? And then you're switching it up like that till you close a bit of distance. By the time you get into about the 200 to 100, you should be moving into team, right? And that is where fireman number 1 or fireman number 2 holds fast. Fireman number 1 takes the bound. Then he gets down and fires, and fireman number 2 takes the bound. And each team is doing that, closing in till about the 50-meter mark, and then they should be holding and just laying down suppressive fire. At this point, all through, that rate of fire should be switching up from group 1 to group 2 on who's got a high rate of fire and who doesn't. The commander's got to make sure that these 2 weapons don't go down at the same time. All right. And if any point during this firefight, one of those weapons goes down, the commander's got to consider whether that's going to halt a movement or if he's got to adapt his plan or if this can be solved quickly enough that he's going to keep the momentum of the firefight and win it. When you get to the 50-meter mark, traditionally we say, Charlie, take the trench. Okay. So we say, Charlie, take the trench, regardless if there's a trench or whatever. It's, take the position, kill. But it starts with usually the lobbing of a grenade. What is deficient in all of this is that my guys don't have grenades on them. I cannot believe how many G.I. Joe classified infantry soldiers I have that don't have grenade representation, and I chose them all. Whoopsie. Anyways, yeah, traditionally these guys would use fire team movement to take the trench. It doesn't have to be Charlie team. It could be any team that he designates, right? But you got to think about what each team is laid out to do. And Charlie, with the exception of the 2IC and the radio, is the most flexible. And of course, the 2IC is just going to look at Grunt and go, that's your trench. And he'll be like, fuck you. All right, fine. Right? So once you take the trench, that's a grenade lob. That's get down, yell grenade. Grenade goes in, poof, you take out the lone Cobra trooper, or you rattle him, or you spook him, you disrupt him. Maybe he's getting out of that trench. And then you all bound over, he bounds in, and he storms into the trench, and he jumps in max aggressively. Maybe he's got his bayonet on, and he lays a spray of fire into that trench, and he beats to death anybody inside of it once he jumps in. Just to win that position. Everybody else is going to bound past. And here's the important thing, guys. I'm going to talk about something called convergence. Convergence happens with a lot of guys who get tunnel vision during a firefight, and they start focusing in on one target. And it might be a target that's actually outside their individual arcs. Remember, when you're moving in an extended line or in any formation, your arcs are overlapping arcs, but they're not converging, right? His right of arc should be this way, and his left of arc this way, and then down the line, like these V's that intersect. But it's not like everybody's looking this way, and just one point on the horizon. That's convergence. During a firefight and a section attack, regardless of whether they have the enemy in front of them or not, they are all firing in their forward arcs. The intent being is not necessarily to kill the one guy that was shooting. Probably it's going to be Charlie or Alpha in the center axis that do that. That's firepower going past that position to prevent anybody from going up and reinforcing it quickly. They're going to get sprayed down. You don't know what's past that position, let's say. You can't see it all. That's why we do that. That's so convergence bad. A little bit of controlled ammo and expenditure, inspect fire, good. That'll take the position. And then max aggression, right? So after Charlie takes the trench, these guys are going to push up over the objectives, destroying anything that's hidden away inside of it, well, like underground. And they're going to take up positions just forward past it, like 50 meters. They're going to get down and they're going to go and take up secure positions as per their rehearsals, 50 meters plus, while a BDA is going to get conducted on what was in the trench. Was there maps? Was there intel? Was there anything like that? 2IC is going to go and he's going to take command of his side, and he's going to do an ammo count with everybody. That's his big thing, getting the ammo count. Commander is going to assign arcs, and he's going to be going back and forth with the command on the radio, letting them know what happened. And that's something I haven't been mentioning throughout. At all points through this, Breaker is on comms. He's reporting the grid they're at, their orientation, the type of enemy to deal with, their what they're going to do about that enemy. And they're requesting any support. Maybe they could call a fire mission on if it wasn't one lone soldier, but multiple soldiers or dug-in vehicles. They're going to get on the radio and they're going to call in for Artie. This is where we get into ats and debts in a section, right? If this was a G.I. Joe Special Forces mission, I'll tell you the top 3 people I would attach to this section, and then I'm calling it a day. Top 3 people I would attach to this section, you guys probably know who the number 1 is if you've been watching my channel. It's cover girl. Why? Because I think a shotgun's a great idea for a long distance section attack. Absolutely fucking not. It's that pad and the implication that I think that is more than just a data pad. I think that is also a means of calling in a Wolverine that's maybe in a hull down somewhere cammed up. That's arty fire to call in on a position. So she's like a forward area controller for artillery. Yeah, that's why she's there. Who else do I want in there? I mean, you'd think I was saying low light, right? But maybe if it was on a shore battle or somewhere inland along a main body of water, maybe I want shipwreck, and maybe he's going to call in the ship's guns for a large barrage on a large fortification. Always possible. But definitely one guy I want at all times in my patrols, if I could get him in there, Spirit. Why? I got a tracker, I got a sharpshooter, I got a guy that knows ground better than anyone, and I got a patriotic, isn't this confusing, British, the Eagle, Canada flag. Oh my God, so much patriotism. But anyways, he's a drone. Yeah, that felt really good to yell that, by the way. But that would be my number one pick for an @ for my section. Anyways, guys, that's just my opinion. You guys are free to disagree with my opinion, and I love it when you do. And you guys leave comments and you tell me shit, and I love it. And I pardon the language today. It's just been a stressful day. But that's been it for the video. If you like this video, go ahead and hit like. If you like my stuff, subscribe. If you're only checking out, if you're only doing the tactical perspective stuff, do check out Specfire if you haven't already. And if you're checking out Specfire, check out Tactical Perspective. And then subscribe if you like it enough, and you don't mind this old man rambling on about his army crap and G.I. Joe and patriotism. Anyways, the other big thing is I keep forgetting to say you're free to share the videos. You don't have to ask me. I'll just share. And if you really want to get locked in, do like Roman and do like Dakism and just get involved in the discussion. You'll find I'm very responsive. Talk to you next time, guys. Bye.